this is Patty Bennett with PattyStamps.com. I'm back with another video tutorial in our Blendabilities series. We have the new Blendabilities markers from Stampin' Up! And they are so fun to color with. I loved coloring as a child, so this is really fun for me. Let me just show you a close-up of these three samples, and I'm going to show you the three different ways that I colored these. So the Daffodil Delight one, you can see, has some highlights down the middle of each petal. The Pumpkin Pie one has highlights more towards the tip. And the Cherry Cobbler one has highlights sort of in the middle of each petal, with the tips being darker and the center being darker. And I just wanted to show you real quickly how to get those three different looks, all with the same stamp, yet just different ways of coloring with the markers. I'm just going to do one petal of each one to show you what the technique was that I used. And you know, with these blendability markers, you can really color any way that you want to. There are 3 markers in each set, so you get a light, medium, and a dark in each set. And if you like to color with the light one first and then go towards the dark, you can do that. If you want to start with the dark and go towards the light, you can do that. It's a matter of playing with them and finding the method that you enjoy or that works for you with the technique that you want to achieve. So with this one, I used all 3 of the Daffodil Delight, and in the darkest one I used the smaller tip, and these caps are really on there. Oh my goodness. So you really have to give them a tug, but that's good because it's going to keep your tip moist. So anyway, I'm going to use the smaller tip first, and what I did was I kind of followed in the lines that Stampin' Up! Had, where they had kind of those double lines, and that's where I put the darkest color, and I used the smaller tip, and I just did like that one stroke. Don't really need more than that. And then with the medium Daffodil Delight color, I used the larger tip, the brush tip, and I just sort of stroked outward right on top of the darker one. And something that's hard for me to remember is to leave a white area. So I'm going to try and leave that little part up here, it's still white. Then with the lightest one and the brush tip, I went over and just kind of blended, and I tried to leave that little white stripe there so that it was a highlight. And then as this dries and kind of soaks into the paper, you're going to see a little bit more definition. It'll look more like this one, where you have the dark and the light, kind of the stripes with the light down the center. So that's all there was to that one. Not very difficult, and just a matter of really following the lines of the artwork that Stampin' Up! Already had for you. On the Pumpkin Pie sample, I used the small tip of the darkest pumpkin pie marker, and I really kind of scrubbed in some color here down at the base. And I just went around the base like that. That's all I did with the darkest one. Then with the medium one, I also used that smaller tip, and going over the dark one, but pulling the color out into the rest of the flower, and then going a little bit kind of on the edge, a little bit like that. See, what I'm doing is I'm softening that line between the dark and the medium. So I just kind of scrubbed in that color over there. Then with the lightest one and the brush tip, again, you start back here on the dark one, you kind of get that color to start blending. And as you come up towards the tip, you don't want to add as much color because you want that to be lighter. So I was going from dark to light, and you can see how that accomplishes that. But you just make sure that you're kind of scrubbing and blending between the dark, medium, and the light. And again, as that dries and sinks into the paper, you're going to see more definition of the lighter to the darker. I mean, you can kind of see it, but that's how that one works. And then on the Cherry Cobbler one, the darkest one, I used the smallest tip, and I added dark cherry cobbler down here at the base, just like we did on the orange one, but then I also added a little bit of dark cherry cobbler like this at the tip. And then with the medium, this you could either do with the large tip or the smaller tip. This one doesn't really matter as much, but I am going to scrub over that and add a little more. And then with the lightest one, I am going to try and pull that color in and blend it. See, I'm going back over those layers, and then for the part in between, it's just sort of one light stroke so that you're not adding a ton of color. So you can see you go from the darkest to the lightest in the center. So let me just hold that up closer for you. Again, so you can see this has the darker on the two ends, lighter in the center. This is darker in towards the center of the flower and lighter here. And this one is actually kind of has the more striped look. So 3 different ways to use those markers and color those beautiful flowers. And I just wanted to show you that what I love about this flower in this set is that it coordinates with the Fun Flower punch. And so when you turn your punch over and you slip your stamped artwork in there, you can see exactly where to punch. And I thought I'd share this cute card with you that I made. I colored those flowers and punched them out and just added them to a note card with some really cute designer papers, 2 different packages there, and some new in color Hello Honey ribbon. And then if you remember in my other video, I showed you how you can color on the vintage buttons with the Blendability markers. So I colored with the razzleberry and the daffodil on the 2 buttons to make centers that further coordinate with that. So thought that was kind of a fun card, show you how to use those punched out flowers. And one last thing I want to tell you about is on the back of your Blendability colored artwork, you should see the color bleeding through. This is what you should see. This means that you're putting enough color down on the paper. And you can kind of see here that where I left the lighter colors in the centers or the tips or the middles, you have less soak through. And that's what you want. This is how you want the back to look. But that also means that you need to work on scratch paper. So don't accidentally put something else down and then color on top of it, because it could very well soak through onto your other artwork. And one last thing I wanted to show you, this was in my previous video as well, and I showed you that on these vases I colored with only the medium and the light marker in each set. And in this one, just for a contrast, I did the dark, medium, and light. So if you didn't see this video, you can go back to the first Blendability video I did in this series, and you can see how I did that. But I just thought I'd show you the difference, and especially with the cherry cobbler one, you can really see the difference there. You can see it in all of them, but mostly in that one. So I just wanted to show you that I did go ahead and try that, and either way looks great, and these markers just blend so beautifully that any way that you want to use them will work fine. So hope that helps you, and I hope you have a lot of fun coloring your flowers.